Oh, okay. Okay, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. Good morning.
This is the guy we had last week.
Yeah, the counterterrorism expert.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to
Fantastic.
see you.
Good morning. Nice to have you back.
Exactly. Nice to have you
How are
on
you?
too. We're testing the lines to ensure you can hear us clearly. So we'll be up in about a minute.
Okay, thank you. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great, great,
Captain, right.
great.
Right, you're welcome back. The Nigerian army has for months been counting its losses following several deadly attacks on their bases in the northeast by Boko Haram. The insurgent group has made a great comeback, a very fierce one at that, eager to show that it has not lost its capacity to cause havoc.
In July, Boko Haram launched two deadly and coordinated attacks on the Nigerian army just 24 hours apart. The militants on July the 13th ambushed a military convoy of troops of 21 Brigade in Bama, Borno State, killing scores and displacing many others. A report from the AFP placed the casualty figure on the side of the army at 10. And just 24 hours after the Bama incident, Boko Haram invaded an army base holding more than 700 soldiers in Jili in Yobe State, killing more than 20 soldiers, while hundreds went missing and some are still unaccounted for.
A military base is a fortress and, as such, impenetrable for Boko Haram. But the recent attack on Matale Army Base in Borno State has got Nigerians talking. On November 18, Boko Haram attacked an army base in Matale, killing scores of soldiers. Reacting to that attack 10 days after its occurrence, the Nigerian army disclosed that the insurgents also attacked soldiers at Kukawa, Ngoshe, Kareto and Gajiram at different times within a 2-week period from 2nd to 17th of November 2018. Well, the army also disclosed that Boko Haram has been making use of foreign fighters and drones in their onslaught on the army.
All right, joining us from our Abuja studio is a counterterrorism expert, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, retired. It's good to have you join us right now, Group Captain. Now, Nigerians, when it comes to the military, one would say certainly they have their own way of operation, they have their own way of process and way of doing everything where the ordinary civilian may not understand. But what the Nigerian people would ask question is, when they are supposed to protect and defend the integrity of the country, which they have been doing and doing perfectly well. But when something goes wrong, people ask a lot of questions. And in the past few weeks, Nigerians have been asking questions. Is Boko Haram back and back for real? What's your assessment of that?
Thank you very much. Well, in any operation, there are bound to be successes and there are bound to be reversals. That's why people talk about winning the battle as opposed to winning the war. We are in a war with several battles. Like every endeavor in life, sometimes the Nigerian armed forces will carry the day, and that's what we hope for. But certainly also the other side will have the idea. Looking at indices, we can say from 2017, or more precisely in this year and the last 2-3 months, there is no doubt that the Nigerian armed forces have been having reversals with Boko Haram carrying the day. But when such reversals happen, Nigeria being a democratic country, people are bound to ask questions. The people that died, even the officers and men that are in there, they are husbands, they are family, friends, they are colleagues, so people will have to ask. So what I would encourage in this issue is for more and more the Nigerian military to refine its way of addressing these challenges of people asking questions. Certainly people will ask questions. And sometimes, you know, giving out information might be beneficial even for the military and as a sign of consideration for those people that lost their lives and their family. Yeah, again, we should not forget that, yes.
What do you make of this latest? What do you make of the latest information then, if I may come in, you know, from the Chief of Army Staff himself, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, that the military seems, you know, they seem to be putting the blame on the resurgence of the Boko Haram, on the use of drones and, of course, foreign mercenaries. What do you make of this revelations coming from the military?
Well, on the issue of, let me start with the issue of foreign fighters.
Yes.
Many sources are of the opinion, since the declaration of one of the factions of Boko Haram that they pledge allegiance to ISIS, there has been this information out there that there is a relationship between ISIS and Boko Haram. Now, looking at how insurgent groups normally act in general, it is a fact that they do transfer of technology, they also do exchange of information, exchange of tactics, sometimes even exchange of experts. For example, one group that has an IED expert might agree to loan that expert to another group to go and teach it. I remember as far back as 2012, when I was in Mali, in one town, it was reliably confirmed, on the other hand, that Boko Haram members from Nigeria were in Mali to talk or to converse or to exchange information with the terrorists that are in Mali. So there is, it will not be surprising to know that ISIS in particular is operating alongside Boko Haram here in Nigeria. What we may speculate about is, are they in large numbers or are they sending experts? Again, for observers of counterterrorism, we have observed that since the pledging of allegiance to ISIS, in one particular area, that is in propaganda video that is going out, the video, the quality of video that Boko Haram used to release, the quality has risen dramatically. And we know for a fact that ISIS is very good in propaganda video. So we see that as an indication that certainly there is some support that Boko Haram is getting from ISIS. On the issue of drones, yes, just like drones would help the Nigerian military in prosecuting operation, drones will also enhance the capacity of any insurgent group like Boko Haram. The issue of insurgents using drones is new in Nigeria with this alarm that is raised by the Nigerian army. However, like we say, insurgency is an international or global phenomenon. In other areas of the world, since from 1994, there have been documented cases of non-state actors or terrorist groups or insurgents using drones to enhance their operation. From Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, FARC in Colombia, Lashkar-Taibat in Pakistan, all these groups at one time or the other have used drones for different purposes. However, the capacity of one group or the sophistication of the drone that one group uses, again, it varies from one organization to another. Right now, we can say organizations like Hamas, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS are on the top. For Boko Haram, this is an evolving situation, and we have to, study very well to know, yes, what is the level or what is their capacity of using such drones. Like I said, from 1994, first use of drones by a terrorist group was in Japan. Surprisingly, in 1994, the Aum Shirinkyo cult wanted to use drones to deliver sarin nerve gas in a Tokyo subway. Fortunately, that plot did not succeed, but that is the first known documented use of drones by a non-state actor. From that 1994 to up to March 2015, research has been carried out by the United States Army War College, and they have documented 25 cases of attempted or successful use of drones by terrorist groups.
All right.
The ones I mentioned, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, and the rest.
Okay. Now, talking about drones, although a Phantom 4 drone is not the latest technology, but it's said to be one of the recent technology in the past few years. But the introduction of the use of drone to the terrorist activity, how more compounded is the fight against insurgency from the side of the Nigerian military now? Because before the use of drones, it seemed like there was still a resurgent, and then drone now being one of the addition to what the terrorists are using. How more compounded are things for the Nigerian military?
When drones came on the international scene, they were meant to be used by regular armed forces. However, as we are seeing now, the monopoly of the use of force is not restricted to the military. So now we have to agree that while it was brought to help the military, as we can see now, insurgents are using it. And certainly this has compounded the problem for the Nigerian military. In what way? The challenges that drone, even though the Nigerian army has not given us details on how Boko Haram are using the drones, but drawing from examples from Al-Qaeda, from ISIS, from other parts of the world, insurgent group can use drones in several ways. One is to get intelligence and reconnaissance. They can come over a defensive field to see how our defenses are organized. Is there a sentry? What is the routine? And then using that information, they go and plan their attack. I want to believe Boko Haram are at that stage where they can use that kind of attack. The next attack is IED delivery. That is another scenario. That is using drones to deliver IED. Now, delivering IED is a higher capacity, and not all terrorist groups have that capacity. I would like to believe that as at now, Boko Haram does not have that capacity. When you pass from IED delivery, the next one again is using the drone as a weapon platform by which you can carry bombs or rockets and then drop them. Again, I would like to think, as of we are talking today, I think that is beyond the scope of Boko Haram. Then there are others and others and others. So in essence, the way that this development is going to compound the operations of the Nigerian military is in the area of force protection. Because from the tactics used in other fields, what the insurgents do is to come and use their drone to deploy over troops that are in defensive position and see how their defensive arrangement is. Normally, we have seen it several times with Al-Qaeda, with ISIS. After that reconnaissance, what comes next is a follow-on attack, because they have been able to gauge how the troops are, organized, how the defenses are. So this is the challenge that is going, even though I am not speculating, I don't know the details. The army did not give the details of how, the Boko Haram are using their own drones. But I want to believe at this level, they are using low-quality drones for surveillance and reconnaissance that will enable them to carry out a follow-on attack.
Yeah, but based on what you've said, it is obvious. I mean, you did point out the fact that the videos coming from the Boko Haram, have actually improved a lot more than, what it used to be. Now, is it safe then to say that these people are not the ragtag group that, they've been described as? They're very strategic, in their plans and execution. Now, you would think that the Nigerian military that has the formal training and, on how to both anticipate and, of course, push back insurgency would be a step, if not two or more steps ahead of the Boko Haram. I mean, talk to us about this.
Yes, thank you very much. That is the purpose of such public discussions, to make sure that our military are a step or even 2 steps or even 3 steps ahead of the insurgents in terms of using this drone or any new technology that will emerge. You spoke about propaganda. Yes, I missed that. Propaganda purpose is also one use of drones. And I think right now, again, that's another area that Boko Haram is very captive. When you have, a video of showing how you attack, you go and spice it up, it is a very good propaganda material. And from ISIS to Hamas and all the others, they are doing great work in using drone technology to take pictures of their attacks, which they propagate to send message to the rest of the world that, look, we are capable, and like you said, we are not a ragtag organization, and we have some capacity. Now, in terms of Nigerian armed forces staying ahead, yes, what these developments are showing us is that not only the Nigerian military, but also all the Nigerian security sector, from DSS to police to custom to even immigration, all these have implications for these organizations. because drone technology is going to become more and more prevalent as the world advances. Because first of all, the cost of the drone technology is coming lower. It is becoming more diversified. You know, any sharp kid on the block now can assemble his drone. So this is an issue that the Nigerian military must talk about. In my research, I know that the Nigerian Air Force, for one, has started looking at drone technology in 2013 when they started the project called Gulma. After that, they have done, after Gulma, there was Amebo,
yes,
and then now they have Egumi. Now, how far have these technologies gone is a question that the armed forces should ask itself, and the political masters and the assembly, to see what support can they give. We have to continue to make sure that we are ahead of the adversary. I want to see a concerted effort in putting more effort in drone technology. Not only drone technology now, you have to also be thinking of counter-drone. Because like I said now, it's not only the armed forces now that has monopoly. If what we hear from the army is true, it means Boko Haram can also use it. If Boko Haram can use it, other non-state actors in future will be able to use it. So not only improve our research into drone technology, but also research into counter-drone technology, which is also available in the market. So I would like to see a concerted effort. To be fair, again, I know that within the defense circle, either at the defense headquarters or at the National Security Advisor, there was even a committee to harmonize how agencies will work to bring out a drone technology, a doctrine. Now, the issue with Nigeria, honestly, we have to be very critical. We are not good at pursuing things. We are not good at following up. We are not good at continuity. It is possible if somebody leaves a particular desk, all these issues will be pushed to the background.
That's it.
But I want us to build on the research that the Nigerian Air Force has done. I mentioned the Nigerian Air Force because to the best of my knowledge, that is the organization that I know they have a drone program. But again, like I said, I cannot say how far, apart from knowing that there are 3 experimental protocols, prototypes that have been done, with the Egumi being the highest one that can fly.
And if I may come in, for this research to happen in the first place, there's a need for funding, and we've just been told by the Chief of Army Staff that the $1 billion, which many Nigerians actually believed had been released, for the purchase of weapons and all of that, is still being processed.
1 year after.
Yeah. So they don't have funds to procure equipment, and there are no funds to improve whatever research or capabilities that we're trying to achieve, locally.
Two things to be said about funding. Is it enough or not enough? That is the first question. The second question, where the funding is available, is it used for purpose? The first one, is it enough or enough? Many people will be intrigued to know that since the Boko Haram insurgency started from 2009 to date, Nigeria has never dedicated up to 1% of its GDP in the defense, despite the fact of these allegations that a lot of money, the figures you have on the screen, it is not up to 1% of GDP. International security experts, they use percentage of GDP to show the level of importance that a country puts on its security. The highest we have moved, I think, is about 0.9% of GDP. This is not good enough. You will know that it's not good enough when you look at our neighbors, Niger, Chad, Cameroon. How much percent of their GDP are they putting on defense? I can assure you that Cameroon is putting nothing less than 2.3% of its GDP on defense. Niger, I repeat, Niger is putting 1.3% of its GDP on defense. Chad, that's why we are always running to Chad, and that's why the international is looking to Chad. Chad is putting 3.3% since this insurgency started. Now, the Boko Haram insurgency, even though it concerns these countries, we may not exaggerate it if I say 80% of the problem is on Nigeria. Now, if the country that's having 80% of the problem is putting less than 1% of GDP on defense, and the others are putting at least 1.1 up to 3.3, then certainly, honest, our policy makers have to ask, are we not paying lip service to financing the counter-terror effort? This is a debate that I want to go. Now, the other side of the equation is that if the money is again, we have another problem in our budgeting process. Sometimes the figures that you showed in the screen do not translate to actual releases. This is not only in the Nigerian military or the Ministry of Defense, it is also, you know, peculiar to all the other ministries, but here we are talking about security. You say you have X billion. Now, to be honest with you, I was surprised to hear from the Army spokesman that the money, of which a lot of uproar has been raised, the money has not even been released. It is so with so many other things. Then we move to following the money. Here, I am always an advocate of the National Assembly following the money. Release the money, fund the military, but follow it up. But in all honesty, I think the point has been made. We are not spending enough. We are not spending as a country that is at war.
Okay.
Whether you ask this 1 billion, still I don't think we are spending up to 2% of our GDP.
Okay.
And it is an internationally agreed that when a country is at war, the defense spending has to go.
All right. Now, let's talk about the issue of the terrain. The Sambisa Forest has been mentioned so many times. The terrain in the northeast has been mentioned so many times. And when we hear of ambush and all of that, one would ask, does the Nigerian army have an understanding and a grasp of the terrain that it operates in the northeast? Maybe as good as Boko Haram would, even though they may be seen as indigents. But does the Nigerian army have challenge with the issue of understanding the terrain in the northeast?
Understanding terrain and even culture is very important in a counterinsurgency operation. If you talk about the terrain, we have to accept that the Nigerian armed forces are composed as Nigerian armed forces. What does it mean? You have people from the south, from the north, from the east there. So whether we like it or not, the terrain may not be familiar to some of the elements of the Nigerian armed forces. On the other hand, you are talking of Boko Haram. Boko Haram, by and by minus the people from the elements from Cameroon or from Chad, we have to agree they are indigenous of the northeast. So certainly, knowledge of the terrain is to disadvantage. You can carry this to the problem in Zamfara. The bandits in Zamfara, certainly they know the terrain more than any military man that will come working there. So that there's no denying that fact. The terrorists have advantage of knowing the terrain. They have advantage of knowing the people. They have advantage. But again, these are efforts that Nigerians, you brought issue of terrain. Counter-insurgencies, when we're talking counter-insurgencies, we leave out all sentiments. Other countries, in fact, I can give example. I always go back to Colombia because there's this tendency of comparing with Colombia. It is documented. Colombia is a big country, in fact, far bigger than Nigeria. It has also its own cultural varieties. At a point during the counterinsurgency, the Colombian military were using Colombian military personnel, but those that came out from the area where the insurgency is happening. Of course, I know Nigeria is a complex country. If you do that, there may be issue of you know, you are taking some people to go and be killed or you are populating them, but that is a reality. That is what Colombia did. Even what they did. So carrying people that are indigenous, either in the command positions, of course, Nigeria, you cannot carry all people from northeast to go and this thing. But having people who know the terrain is very, very important. Apart from that, we still come back to this issue of numbers. Numbers are not enough. It's a very big terrain we are fighting, and certainly the numbers, by my estimation, the troop numbers we have is just about probably a quarter of what we need on the ground.
Okay, we'll have to go there. Obviously, just as the Boko Haram understand that technology will make a lot of difference, there's a need for the Nigerian military to actually understand, to up their game as far as technology and others are concerned. Thank you very much, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, counter-terrorism expert, retired Group Captain, that is. Thank you so much for your insights on the show this morning.